one of the questions that one wants to ask in the modern era is why, at a time when we have so much social science at our disposal, so many counsellors and experts on relationships, are so many relationships failing? The relationships that are married relationships last longer, but there are fewer of them than there used to be. When couples choose to live together, cohabitation, the average length of time is really short now. We're looking so often at less than 18 months. People don't know how to sustain long-term relationships. People are afraid of getting married. And some people who do get married again. And the second marriage is usually shorter than the first. It all sounds a bit grim. Well, what's the answer? Firstly, let's look at Ecclesiastes. Not the first place you'd think to look, but it says this: two are better than one, because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. It's that last bit. Where did that come from? A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Yes, we understand that there are normally 2 people in a relationship. Where did the 3rd strand come from? And, well, that's Jesus, isn't it? So, Christian teaching about relationships is quite simple. If you have a good relationship with Jesus, your spouse has a good relationship with Jesus, you will have a good relationship. Getting Jesus into the center of the relationship really helps the quality and the longevity of the relationship. The research has been done. Couples that pray together stay together. That's the truth. Church going is good, but there's a lot more to it than that. Praying together, it's one of those things that it's difficult to get around to. It's difficult to break the ice. But once you get onto it, you can share that stuff with somebody who's bigger than you, who can deal with it. And that's where Jesus comes in. And that's every part of that relationship. There's no part of that relationship that Jesus doesn't already know about. He knows our needs before we ask him. So pray together, stay together. What about the attitudes within that relationship? Well, go and have a look at Colossians chapter 3. Begin at verse 12, and you will see some really good attitudes. And then you'll find that it uses the term, and over all these things put on love, which binds them together in perfect unity. And then you go, well, what do we mean by love? It's not a very specific word. It can mean all sorts of things. I mean, I just love the meal I had last night, but that's hardly relevant to a long-term relationship, is it? So what you do is you go to 1 Corinthians. Remember, there's 2 letters to the church at Corinth, so this is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Look at the first half of that chapter to about halfway through verse 7. And it tells you what love is. Love is all of those things. And it can be summed up by being about self-giving and not taking. so that we're fulfilled through the giving and we receive what is given in love. Have a look at that. Don't let it wash over you. Don't think, oh, but my so-and-so spouse is not doing that. Keep it personal. Keep it personal to yourself. And ask God to give you more of the right sort of attitudes to sustain that relationship. And then remember the 4 keys to a happy marriage. Firstly, we're going to communicate with acceptance. So we're going to communicate, but we're also going to accept what the other person is saying. And that's really, really important. It's no use somebody saying something important to you and you go, what? And make them wish they'd never said it, because then next time maybe they won't. So it's important to accept that person in all their imperfections and hear what they say without reacting in a way that's going to be a deterrent for them saying it again. Secondly, you do have to do the forgiveness. The Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your anger, because that's when you give the devil a foothold. You've got to forgive, you've got to let it go, start the new day afresh. Thirdly, you've got to persevere. Press on through in a relationship. You know, in this day and age, we're encouraged to wave the white flag when the relationship isn't quite as exciting as it used to be, or maybe you've drifted apart because you've let too many other things get in the way. You need to persevere, press on through in the relationship and go deeper. And fourthly and finally, you've got to fight for that relationship. Fight against all the things that are pushing in to push you apart. Identify those things and stand together against them. And that might be work. It might be things which are theoretically good, like having to care for elderly parents or caring for your children. But they can put a strain on the relationship because they take away your personal, intimate time. They make you too tired for each other and to remember things. And even the best relationship, you can start forgetting important things in that relationship when you're too tired or you're too much under pressure. Go back to Jesus at that point and ask him to stand with you in fighting for your relationship. And if you've already determined to persevere in that relationship and you remove from your mind the possibility that it might fail, you're far more likely to succeed. And when you press on through troubled times, you find that you develop strength and you've developed authority. Rather like the way if you go to a gym, if you look at the weights, you don't develop any muscle. If you pick them up, you will, even if it's incredibly difficult at first and it's a bit embarrassing if you can't lift much, you will start to develop the muscle to be able to lift more and to keep on going for longer. If you keep on in a relationship with the principles I've just outlined, you will have a long and happy marriage. Easy to say, it's a lifetime to do, but we have a lifetime to live in. So let's review the Bible passages I mentioned, adopt the principles if you haven't already done so, and go for it. Because the Lord wants to bless marriages in this country today and see them last for a lifetime.